Perhaps even more disturbing tonight, a report out of Indiana. You may have seen this on The Factor. Wait until you hear where we're taking the story. The reports suggest that demons took over a family in their home.
And Megan, the comparisons to the Amityville are notable because it was just days after the Ammon family moved into their house. They say the horror began, the black flies swarming, children being levitated, shadowy figures pacing the house. Here's the mother. Listen.
And I saw one like coming into full image. It was coming out of my closet. I've never seen it like that before. I would see the shadows, you know, but I've never seen it like how I'm looking at you and you're looking at me.
The family sought help, but between the horror stories, the kids missing school and being injured, the family, doctor and child services got involved, with child services pointing the finger at mom, writing, quote, they believe the mother may have mental health concerns. They believe the children are performing for the mother and that she's encouraging the behavior. Then child services witnessed something that changed their view. The 9-year-old boy thrown against the wall with no one touching him. Then they write, quote, he had a weird grin on his face and began to walk backwards while the grandmother was holding his hand. He walked up the wall backwards. He flipped over and landed on his feet in front of the grandmother and sat down in the chair. Police also thought the story was a hoax until they went to the house and saw blinds dripping with oil and water where there was no source, and a mysterious figure in a window when no one was home. 37-year police veteran Captain Charles Austin saying, quote, every one of us who was there that day in the basement and who saw what we saw, we all think the same. We call it the same. That bit of dirt is a portal to hell. The family called a local priest, Father Michael Maginot, who was convinced demons had possessed the mother. He tried to contact the demons through 3 exorcisms. Here's the priest.
It was pretty much without incident until we get to the part of your name, and you asked for its name. Now, so far, she's always been silent. So, and I said, is your name whatever? And then all of a sudden, she started convulsing and such. So now, once you have a name, you kind of attack it.
And after she convulsed, he believes the exorcism in the end was successful. Megan.
Stanford rapist Brock Turner got off easy with his 6-month jail sentence, but he still saw at least one severe punishment: a good old-fashioned hex. A self-identified witch organized a mass hexing for the former Stanford swimmer, whose lenient sentence for raping an unconscious woman at a party sparked national outrage. Melanie Elizabeth Hexon prepped for the cursed event on social media. You will need a solid black candle, his photo, a black string, and a spell I will share on Facebook, the hex leader wrote on Facebook. Several posted pictures of their household hexes, including pictures of Turner's mugshot going up in flames. The hex happened Tuesday night and include phrases like, sleep will only bring nightmares, and you will meet justice. Turner received his short sentence despite being convicted of felony rape and lying about his history of substance abuse to the judge.
In a bizarre event caught on camera, a Tennessee woman who was wanted for attempted murder after stabbing her own mother approached a news crew and confessed to the act. 31-year-old Katie Nichols told a reporter she stabbed her 61-year-old mother, Lori, in the neck, chest, and stomach because she believed she was the ringleader of a satanic cult. A witness said Nichols ran away with her daughter after the stabbing, but came back just minutes later and walked up to a news camera.
The satanic cult in this city has been casting satanic spells on me for 4 days. I'm exhausted. I came home, I found out that my mom was the ringleader and she was trying to kill my daughter.
What did you do?
I had to kill her. She was going to kill both of us. She was so powerful. I had no idea. I had no idea that my mother was that powerful. She could have killed both of us with her mind easily. It was crazy.
How did you find out that she was involved in that?
Well, there were spells all over her house, and I took them apart one by one. I'll take you in the apartment if you want to see them. I'll show you what
No, let's just wait here, if that's okay. I don't want to go in there if it's evil.
No, I took them apart. I took every one of them apart. She had spells. She had Holocaust dolls that she was displaying proudly. She had spells for the nuclear Holocaust that she was displaying proudly. She had my daughter. She had symbolic representations of my death, my daughter's death, every nuclear explosion that was supposed to happen that's not going to now. Because all of the satanic cult has been rounded up and killed now.
And so where were these symbols? Like, how did you find out? Did she have them, like, listed or on her door, or what happened?
No, they're interior. It's knickknacks, okay? It looks like knickknacks. But I started reading the symbolism.
Okay.
And it was all there, shockingly all there. And I had literally no idea that this was who my mother was. And I'm going to tell you something. When I left, she was still breathing. I stabbed her 3 times, and she should have died. She was still breathing. And I don't know what happened to her afterwards, and I don't know where they took her or what exactly happened, but she was the Antichrist. She did not die. Well, I think she's dead.
Are you doing okay?
I'm exhausted.
Where
I
have
am
you been?
so tired.
This morning.
Bless your heart.
Nichols says she knew her mother was the Antichrist because she survived the stabbing. Her mother was taken to the hospital for surgery, and Nichols was arrested and charged with attempted first-degree murder and kidnapping.
Almost 100 school children are said to have been possessed by the devil, and see visions of a man in black trying to kill them. Video footage shows children aged between 11 and 14 who are barely conscious, repeatedly screaming, and to appear to be delirious. In what has been described as a mass case of demonic possession, the pupils in Peru are experiencing seizures alongside their horrifying hallucinations. Experts have struggled to explain the strange occurrence, which also include widespread convulsions and fainting at the school. Locals believe this is a case of demonic interference, saying some children must have played games that invoke demons, such as using a Ouija board. Many religious organizations have warned against using the boards, saying that they can lead to demonic possession.
A home in Hanover, York County will be featured on a national TV show tomorrow. The homeowners say they're living in the middle of a violent haunting. So Fox 43's Katie Kairos took the tour. And Katie, you weren't exactly prepared for what you saw.
No, I had no idea what to expect. And I know a lot of people don't believe in this stuff, but you can take a look at what happened to us inside the house and decide for yourself.
This home looks quiet from the outside, but owner Deanna Simpson says several ghosts are haunting it, and she's caught them in photos and recordings, including this one.
The majority are bad, dark forces, unhuman.
Just a couple minutes into the interview, our photojournalist, Nick, felt his wrist burning.
Are you okay? Did you get scratched?
He was behind the camera, but Simpson knew what had happened right away.
Oh my gosh.
He'd been scratched. Simpson says it's happened to her, her husband, and friends many times before.
That's unbelievable. God bless you. You know why? Because you're telling the story. Yeah. Because you're putting it out there. Because they don't want, that is their, I'm just telling you right now, that is their way of a warning.
She took us on a tour of the house. She shot video of this door.
If that is you, would you please shut that door? Oh my God.
It appears to close on its own.
You want to scare me so bad? Show me. Shut that door. Go ahead, shut that door. Oh my gosh, I about fell to my knees. I trembled because as soon as I said it, you never think that's going to happen.
Simpson says she often sees orbs on this stairway behind the door. It leads up to the master bedroom.
This determines whether I sleep upstairs or downstairs.
This part of the master bedroom and bathroom is an area where we've seen a lot of activity so far, and both Simpson and her cat have been pushed down these stairs before.
While we stood at the top of the stairs, Simpson recorded on her cell phone camera. She was hoping it would catch orbs, but it shows something else too. It looks like a hand.
Oh, what? Mine, did you see that?
Simpson says it looks like someone she's seen before, and it's not a ghost, it's a demon. It's been seen in the basement.
When it came on me, I couldn't breathe, I couldn't scream, I couldn't move.
So far in this house, Nick has been scratched, I've been touched and pinched, we've seen strange lights on the walls and heard noises, and we haven't even gone down to the basement yet.
Where is the place where you saw the Shadow Man picture?
This photo was taken with a deer camera in the basement.
This picture right here is the Shadow Man. He's about 7 foot tall.
Simpson says she's scared by what's happened, but she and her husband have lived in this home for 7 years. Her grown daughters refuse to stay here.
We put everything into this house.
Meanwhile, the family has invited mediums, researchers, and priests to visit the home. Simpson says there's a history of grisly deaths in the house.
I have to prove to people our life, so that way they'd understand.
Whatever you think, we weren't in a hurry to come back anytime soon.
Okay, that is bizarre.
It is.
This is our videographer, Nick Petrillo, who shot that, and you're serious. You actually got scratched.
I did get scratched. Basically, when we walked in the home, I didn't feel anything at first. And then as soon as we sat down and I was shooting the interview with Katie, I felt it was something like a piece of hot metal almost. It was really strange. I'd never felt anything like that before. And then I looked down on my wrist and I noticed there was a scratch there. I wasn't going to say anything at first. And then Deanna asked me, are you okay? Did you get scratched? And then I admitted that I noticed that I was like, yeah, this actually happened. I've never felt anything like that in my life.
Did you believe in ghosts and demons prior to this happening?
I liked watching the shows, but
Okay.
I actually didn't really believe in it until this actually happened. I was very skeptical until this.
And so, has your opinion on it changed as well? Both of you.
Yes. I didn't think anything would happen in this home. We brought a Ouija board because I thought we'd have to bring it in and see if anything happened. And Deanna didn't even want us to bring it in the door. She thought it's just dangerous with what's going on in her house. And now, there were just things that we can't explain that happened there.
Mm-hmm.
She has a lot of photos of people with scratches that had been in her house before, but I never thought that was going to happen when we went inside the home.
I can't even believe I'm going to ask you this, but I have to.
What?
You had sex with a ghost?
A ghost, yeah.
Come on, man. Tell me about it.
I moved into this house. I bought this mansion in Georgia. So this was a really, really spooky place. But yes, one time I woke up and a ghost. I was being mounted by a ghost. I wasn't high.
That was my next question.
I wasn't high.
That was my next question.
Wasn't high at all.
Were you tripping?
No, I was not tripping.
You've had quite a life.
I've had some crazy situations.
I don't know much, but I do know for sure that I lost my virginity to an extraterrestrial woman. My first encounter was when I was 8 years old, and I've been having them ever since. There were the Greys, the little hairy guy, an insect being, and then there was Crescent. They came into my bedroom and we flowed up. His eyes overpowered. You hurt me, you hurt me. I just lay down on the ground and she gets on top of me. Yes, it's real. No, it's not. It's just a dream. After I had done my first painting, I felt better. It was just a relief to get the images down on the canvas.
Four, succubus. Probably the most well-known sex demon, the succubus is a female demon who takes the form of an attractive seductress in order to seduce men. In medieval European lore, succubi appeared to men in the night and seduced them into sexual encounters. It is said that the succubi could suck the life force out of men, leaving them exhausted or even killing them. Incubus. Incubus is basically the male version of succubus. Like his female counterpart, the incubus will drain the strength and life energy from his victims. Unlike the succubus, the incubus will impregnate his victims with another incubus.
There are demons that are set to keep us from God. There are demons that are set to do nothing but to frustrate the maturing process. There's no other grand scheme that they have but to do those two things.
Joe grew up in Missouri. He attended church as a boy, but never had a relationship with Christ. Even when he was young, Joe could sense a spiritual battle brewing around him.
I used to love riding my bike, and there was a bike path that ran along the ditch. And I remember riding it from my friend's house, and I just really felt this presence of light on one side of me and a presence of darkness on the other side. And I just kind of shrugged my shoulders and was like, well, whichever one of you gets me first can have me.
Joe had few friends. He also never knew his birth father. The loneliness and fear he felt as a child would lead him down a dark path.
The biggest thing I was looking for back then would be relationships. It was the piece of my life I felt was missing.
When his mother and stepfather separated, Joe began to fill the void in his life with alcohol and eventually the occult. He started experimenting with a Ouija board, which opened doors that would not be easily closed.
We had some very powerful experiences then, and I just felt this something extra in me, and I knew that something was different. And I remember walking down the street that night, and the cats were in the yard, and they would just start hissing. And
later, as an adult, Joe met 3 demons.
The demons had really started making themselves very known to me at that time. There was 3 of them. One was a manipulator, and it took on the female persona. The other was a tormentor, and he took on the male persona, and then the other one was the mastermind. Every night I would meet with them, and they would just fill me with this knowledge of the kingdom of darkness and how they operate. It was one of those moments that, look, if you'll just let us teach you, then we'll give you everything you want.
Joe says the demons began prodding him to harass Christians.
They began to put me into situations where, you'd have good-hearted Christian people, evangelists out, preaching in the streets. I would engage them in conversation, and 9 times out of 10, they would be outside with me 30 minutes later smoking a cigarette, questioning their faith. That was a big thing to me, to be able to unhinge a believer.
One evening, Joe says his demons told him to go and disrupt a church service.
They told me to mock God in his own house, and this was exciting for me. And so we go to this little tiny storefront church. As I was walking into the doors, those 3 handlers had to stand outside the door. It wasn't that they didn't want to go in, it was that they couldn't go in.
That night, the war for Joe's soul intensified.
The singer began to sing about taking the children back from the devil, and I got infuriated. I mean, it was just boiling inside of me, and I was wanting to explode and to tell her, man, leave the children alone, they're mine.
Eventually, the pastor gave an altar call.
This lady comes to me and asked me if I wanted to accept Jesus into my heart. And I told her, lady, you're a woman of God, and I don't want nothing from you because you got nothing I want. I don't have any clue how I got there, but I was at the altar. For almost 45 minutes, they were just casting these demons out of me all over the sanctuary. And so all I could think about was, man, the devil's gonna kill me. They're waiting for me right outside. And this sweet old lady was patting me on the back, and she's like, oh, you're gonna be okay, son. It'll be all right, don't worry.
Joe says although he accepted Christ that night, he didn't surrender his heart.
He broke those strongholds off of me, but there was still that broken heart that he wanted to heal. I remember looking back as I was getting into the car at those 3 handlers and just the hate that they were filled with, and the darkness and it was all just directed to me, and I knew that it was on. I knew that they were coming for me.
Over the next 9 months, he went on a drug and alcohol binge, trying to run away from God.
I was so willing to run back into the darkness of trying to get high enough and trying to get drunk enough and trying to do enough crazy things to get this influence of light away from me.
He was arrested for robbing convenience stores and sent to jail. He became involved in a prison gang and was even planning to kill a man to prove himself. But then,
November 16th of 2002, I sat on a park bench overlooking the prison yard. Another gentleman that I had been in several violent altercations with had come, and he just asked me some questions.
At that point, Joe was faced with the many bad choices he had made in life.
God used him to speak his truth in my heart, to tell me that, man, I have a better path for you. And I decided, you know what? whatever you have for me, if you can get me out of this moment, then if you have something better than my plan, then I'm willing to do it. And so I got off that park bench that day and started walking towards God and never looked back.
Joe says he now realizes how God used his time in jail to speak to him.
That I had to be in prison because I had to be in a place where I could not escape and I could not control. Because with the world, I could get lost and I could run and run. I know what it means for David when he said, I make my bed in hell and lo, you are with me. You know, because when I ran back out into the world, he was still there and he was still wanting to love me.
Before he was released, Joe entered a 12-step program and with God's help was freed from substance abuse and the demons that tormented him for so many years.
God was constantly showing me that he is so much more powerful than any of these things, and that Jesus came to set us free from those things, that those things do not have to have the reign in our lives that we give it.
Upon his release, Joe got a job working with troubled youth at a ranch in Arkansas. He also pastors a small church and ministers to those who struggle with demonic influences in their lives.
Jesus says that we can know God as God knows us. Man, I want to know how many hairs is on his head. I want intimacy with Christ and with the Father. You know, there's a lost and dying world out there that needs to know that he loves us and he's more powerful than any darkness that could ever overtake you. His grace and his mercy, his compassion for you is greater than any sin.